for the day, Mr. Deeptarup Biswas. He has a postdoctoral researcher from Harvard Medical School and has a doctorate from IIT Bombay. I would now request Sir to share the insights on the topic.
I am currently working in the Boston Children's Hospital of Harvard Medical School, and I have completed my PhD in from IIT Bombay. And I, during my time of the doctoral, journey, I have also developed a particular database, which is the you can tell the first, brain proteome database or brain omics database from India, which is BrainProt, and there were many students who are from IIT Bombay, who especially BTechs, MTechs, different interns who were involved in this mega project, and we are still working in this particular project to kind of cater all the informations of human brain in related to from different omics platform. So as my most of my journey in my doctoral and postdoctoral is very much centered to neuroscience. I During my PhD, I was working with brain tumors. So my major work was to develop big data analysis pipelines and machine learning workflows to understand meningioma, which is a prevalent brain tumors. And during the completion of my PhD, I could come up with a list of a panel of proteins that could identify or could classify low grade and high grade brain tumors. Second, after coming over here, despite I didn't I'm fascinating with brain research, so I haven't changed my area of research. So I kept it brain research, but I have shifted my focus from brain tumor to neurodegenerative diseases. So over here in the Harvard Medical School, I am currently working in different projects. The major goal of these project is to develop AI driven pipelines for the identification of biomarkers and therapeutics for the neurodegenerative diseases. It is really interesting for me and very fascinating for me to understand the correlation between the brain tumors and neurodegenerative diseases. Despite both the disease, the origin is the the complex organ of the human body, but when we look in depth to understand, both of the diseases are obviously pretty different, you know. And but at the same time, uh, if we try to understand these two diseases or the broad classification of these diseases, we will get a lot of informations about even the functionality of the human brain. So during this period of time, from almost from last 6 to 7 years, what I understand is that the human body is having different layers of information. So it is, I believe that everybody knows about Da Vinci, who has actually started understanding and helping the human mankind to understand, or the humanity to understand about the anatomy of the human body. But when we move forward in the in the scientific research, we understood that human body is nothing but a different layers of information, and these layers of informations, if can be understood, can be taken forward in parallel, connecting with one to other. I'm very sure that we will be having informations or idea about all the different health related problems and diseases. So if we start, that it starts from gene, then to epigenome, then transcriptome, that is RNA expression of the gene expression, then the protein expression, then the metabolites, and finally phenomes. So if all these informations of a particular human body could be taken forward and can be correlated with each other, what you understand is that the whole human body, right? And these informations are not general informations. We get the personalized information of a particular individual, which is very interesting to move forward in the clinical research. And also at the same times, it gives you, opens the window of understanding a tremendous amount of data, because these are all these areas are something that generates a huge amount of data. So from here, the actual word, actually terminologies comes why machine learnings and artificial intelligence are actually important to understand these data. So I have just tried to give you a very basic idea, because I believe that this particular webinar is mostly for the kind of interactive webinars. So what I used to do, or most of the research lab that tries to use AI and ML in clinical research, is predicting diseases, which is very important, and the kind of required area to decrease the healthcare burden right now. So how it does is that, so for obviously for any kind of machine learning strategy, you need some training data. That means that you have to tell the model that these are the features of the control, these are the features of the disease, and using developing a kind of a model, using some diagnostic marker which you identify from your research or from your big data analysis, you try to predict particular individuals or a particular subject, that whether it's a control or a disease, something like this. Okay, so this is something which is really very interesting, and human eye or human mind obviously can develop these models, but cannot predict like kind of a high throughput results, high throughput data. So it requires a model to make sure that how a particular doctor or a particular physician is trying to detect a disease, a model or a a particular machine learning strategy can able to do that. So that is the major role right now in regarding the AI, like the uses of AI and ML in predicting disease. It is not only currently is only restricted to some list of proteins, some list of gene, or some list of expression or metabolites. It has moved tremendously to different kinds of images, like CT scan images, MRI images, mammographs, and all these things. And this is only one of the stories, or I can say it's kind of a success stories, that large mammograph studies show significant benefits with AI aided screening. So this is one of the success stories, but there are many manuscripts and research papers are coming, which is showing that how the AI and ML, it can helps in predicting disease from the clinical images. So but all this helps us to understand that these kind of data, or this kind of big data, is required and can help us predicting a disease. But the question arises whether AI is having the power to predict the disease before the onset of symptoms. That is something which everybody wants, which is we all termed as preventive the research or preventive medicine, or you want to make sure that you remain healthy. It's not like that once you get disease, then you start using these technologies to diagnose. Obviously that is a important area, but before that you have to make sure that you would like to identify the disease or identify the symptoms, even when there is a identified disease, even there is an onset of the symptoms. Early you diagnose, there the chance of getting cured is always more. So this brings to an interesting terminology, which is digital twins. Okay, so digital twins are nothing but building a personalized, more personalized individual, same like you, but it will be a kind of a digital copy, which requires clinical records, medical images, sensors, omics, socials, and environmental data. You can ask that how it is possible to completely making a digital twin of a human body. It's possible. It's possible, and the whole research fraternity is currently moving towards that. The question comes that how much it is beneficial at one time, and second is that from where we will get that huge amount of data that can help in developing a digital twin from a normal individual. So this comes when we take all the data available for an individual. I'm pretty sure nowadays many people does a lot of different preventive test, or different profile testing. That is one of the data. Obviously, that is not enough. Even in these particular medical records, nowadays many Western countries are including genomics data, proteomics data, to make sure that a particular person is having a complete profile of their gene and protein. This is not enough as of now. Second is that smartwatch. I'm pretty sure that 90% of us uses smartwatches, and that particular smartwatch helps not only to give a better visualization of your time, of your timelines, but at the same time it helps to understand a lot of parameters in regards to your health monitoring, right? So these two are enough? I believe no, because these two gives you obviously some data, but it is more not enough to develop a digital twin. So what more? Recently, there are many companies who are coming with different kinds of wearables, and one of the company, which is Bloom Life, is is developing attachable sensor for the maternal health. That kind of a sensor that will be present in the abdominal area, that can helps not only the pregnant women, but at the same time different kinds of menstrual cycles and different kinds of health related information linked to the females or women's. Second is that smart socks, which is a company is there, which is outlet, which is currently making socks for the babies, that can helps in identification or understanding the temperature, understanding different health parameters from the fit of a baby. Next is smart spoon. I think we have most of us, if we have seen follow LinkedIn, we will see that there are many smart spoons and cutleries are coming that helps to understand the trimmer, which might help, which actually assess or actually monitor the early symptoms of the Parkinson disease. At the same time, there are sweat sensors, which I believe that there are even a couple of IIT labs are there who are working on sensors. And N-License is one of the company who are in this particular business of developing sensor for sweat monitoring. Then there are companies which are making smart undergarments, especially for breast cancer monitoring, which are kind of a particular variable which can help in identification of the symptoms or identification of kind of lumps if it is arising in the breast. And smart caps and earbuds, generally we use earbuds right now for listening to music, but I believe that there will be time when the earbuds will also helps to get the data from the ear in regards to the health monitoring, and obviously smart caps are there. But the question comes that whether these are everybody is using these wearables. Absolutely not. Even 99.99% of the human right now are not using all these wearables at a go, right? We some of us might use the medical, we have the medical records, some smartwatch, but absolutely not all of these, right? But we have to understand that revolutions happen stepwise, right? We have never felt 30 years back that we will use our mobile to get a pizza delivered in 10 minutes in your doorstep, right? So it takes time. It takes time to make sure that the humanity introduces research introduces new gadgets for the humanity or technologies for the humanity, and humanity accepts is the citizens of the country accepts it. It takes time, but I'm very sure that it will happen very soon, that we will be using different wearables to make sure that our body gets monitored every time. And if it happens, every step will generate data. It happens when even sleeping, it will generate data. I'm pretty sure that everybody who are using smartwatch in the morning after waking up, we first see that how much time we have slept. That is very normal thing that we do, right? And when your every step, every breath actually generating data, then you have to make sure that these data are getting generated, analyzed at a real time manner. So over here, the role of AI actually comes or highlights the overall idea of why artificial intelligence and machine learning is interesting. Obviously, this is something which is very futuristic, but the question comes whether these concepts are really future concepts. Is digital twins a future concepts? Absolutely not. Right now, from 1958 to 2024, if we see the research trend in digital twins, it has taken a sharp increment from 2021 or 2022. Researchers are actually started understanding about digital twins. Researchers have started implementing small classical concepts of different strategies of AI and ML to I understand if a digital twins could be developed. It is not a future concepts right now. People are researchers are doing that in different parts of the world. There are many companies who are getting involved. So with that, I will conclude my talk that welcome to the age of AI driven healthcare. We are really moving fast and forward in this particular field where we are trying to use AI and ML not only for predicting diseases, predicting, classifying diseases, understanding which drugs could be given to a particular individual, but at the same time, we are in a journey where we are trying to develop digital twins, where your body will be given a complete will be convert it into a particular model, or you can just tell a more particular individual which will have all your real-time data. This is one of the reason why electronic health records, different kinds of digitalizations, and number of a lot of high throughput data are getting generated for an individual. I'm very sure that every day, if we just look into different research manuscripts and LinkedIn, we will understand that how fast this area is actually driving. And I'm very sure that it will be a day that when a particular day will come when we'll see that a lot of research are actually moving towards this particular field. So thank you. I have tried to keep the talk pretty short so that it can be a little bit more interactive sessions, and I'm happy to go ahead with the questions, or maybe all the speakers can speak and then we can have the interactive question. Over to you, Jose.
Yes, sir. So we'll have the questions once all the speakers have given their insights.
Great. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir, for that insightful presentation. Now I'd like to introduce our next speaker for the day, Mr. Ankit Halder, an MTech PhD dual degree from IIT Bombay, requesting sir to share his insights on the topic.
Hello everyone, so I'll just share my screen. Yeah,
Yes, sir, the
so
screen is visible.
so first of all, thank you, BioX Club, for conducting such an transformative session, informative thing, and obviously inviting me to give a insight related to the topic and AI drug discovery. I have kept my presentation really short to have this just to give an overview of how we can where we are approaching and how we can move ahead, and uh, also Deep has set the platform right by giving a wonderful presentation. So in short, I am Ankit. I am just MTech PhD dual degree was studying in the final year of PhD, and I'll just believe give a short presentation on that drug discovery and how the AI can be used. So first of all, I'll just give a brief overview to all the audience that what is the drug discovery, of which many have we have become familiar after getting after the COVID pandemic, and we have very much familiarized with the process. But the major thing that starts up with is the target identification and validation, of which Deep has rightly stated that and showed that how to understand each and every aspect of the information that our body is having directly result into have a proper drug against a proper disease. And so the target identification and validation is one of the major important things, followed by the compound screening. So there are all lots of compounds, starting from natural compounds, chemical compounds, and we all know that after World War, the advent of the antibiotics and the generation of antibiotics and huge production came into play. But now again, we could understand that how antibiotics are becoming resistant and cancers are becoming drug resistant. So the use of natural compounds as well as of our alternative compounds are becoming very much important in today's date. So to screen which compounds can be really useful for targeting, followed by then once the compound is we get, once the targets we identify, once compounds we get, then comes the reason to have the assays and the in vivo analysis to understand that how the drug can work upon a particular body or not, and then finally the clinical studies. So if we look into the timeline or the frame, so from starting from the basic research to going into the market with the FDA approval, so it approximately starting from 3 years, 1 year, 6 years, and 1.5. So total cumulatively, it approximately 10 to 12 years is the general process that we know. And also, it's a huge investment and huge manpower resources that are required, full of clinical studies and resources, all are involved in these processes. So now where AI can come into play or role it can come into the drug discovery processes. So firstly is that the predicting drug target interactions, predicting the target. So like Deep has shown that how you can see that particular target you can achieve through studies of different big data. So finally, to understand that whether the drug will react with that interactions or it will do have an off-target effect as well. So here AI with the huge data of the dose responses as well as the drug and protein reaction interactions that are into play, AI can help us in predicting those early. Second is that the whether the drug can act as to the multiple targets. So if we know that in any particular disease, for example, in cancer, it's a disease of a systemic diseases where many genes, proteins, metabolites gets affected, and there is a huge interactome network that is involved in those particular diseases. So if we can have those kind of drugs which
आम्ही
can
प्रार्थना
affect,
घेतल्या सगळ्यांनी म्हणायची आहे.
which can affect
ऐकू येतंय
multiple.
ना? हो हो. हा. वक्रतुंड महाकाय सूर्यकोट
so which can affect multiple targets can be useful or can be very much fruitful. Second, third is the drug repurposing or repositioning. So the major concept here is that we know and we come across that the timeline which I just showed, that it takes a lot of process to get a new compound validated and helpful for and can be taken forward for market or for can be used for in the clinical to the patients can be given. So now if already after 15 or 20 years of extensive research and trials, if one of the drugs is already in the market and is used for certain disease, and now if we can repurpose that drug and if we can identify that drug for any other particular disease, then that whole lot of time of getting the toxicity and all those kind of things can be reduced. That's why drug repurposing or repositioning is helping, is getting a very much attraction in today's date, and all the research fraternity is trying to find out those drugs so that can be used for multiple purposes. Fourth is the dose response and the toxicity prediction. So again, after we know that after the lot of processes of basic research, identification of targets, getting our particular drugs, then finally getting into the clinical trials gets failed because of the toxicity and other things. So now AI can help us in identifying and predicting the toxicity beforehand. So then we can reduce the number of drugs to test out in clinical trials, and those reducing our timeline, reducing the cost associated with it. Next, also is the chemical reaction and the synthesis of the molecules to predict those yields. So AI can be used in that process as well. So AI is one thing which can help in all the domains of drug discovery processes, starting from identification of markers, from the prediction that which can be used for those markers and diseases, followed by drug, then to find the drug that can be suitably used in different disease and have which can have one multi-target effect, as well as to predict the toxicity, as well as to get the reaction yield. So I think Deep has mentioned that of the markers that we have worked upon on one of the brain tumors that uh, I work upon is very Java. So that ML based approaches how can help in the identification of this kind of uh, theranostic markers which can be used for prediction of diseases or diagnosis or monitoring of the diagnosis that the patients are going to high grade or to becoming aggressive in nature, to also to be used as a target for drugs or to which can be targeted against, so that can be taken forward for that it can be the aggressiveness or the metastasis can be reversed. So these are the, for example, that if we use with a huge amount of data generated, if we can use our machine learning based approaches through different algorithms, we can narrow down the markers or the panel of proteins which can be taken forward for further understanding the patient. So now I'll just focus upon, like Deep has given an excellent overview of the digital twins, the concept of digital twins. So how this big data can help us in identifying the suitable target for diseases as well. So here, what general process is that to discover that what are those proteins, what are those genes that are getting dysregulated while a person is having a disease, right? So to have the tissue comparison between the humans who are having or the disease and without the disease, and to have the all field of all levels of information, like from starting from genomics, proteomics, metabolomics, and to get all. And now with the advent of the new technologies, that it is very much possible to have the single cell level information as well, which helps us to understand the heterogeneity present in the tumors and present in the different conditions. So after that, with a huge amount of data present already, and if you do your any study, you can have a public cross with all the population across the data. You can mine the data using different technologies, different algorithms, and to understand that what are the network, and to develop and to identify the patient specific as well as a population specific markers that you can take forward for validation of those targets. And then finally you can do a drug repurposing, or you can identify certain novel compounds that you can be taken forward for clinical trials or precision therapeutics. So like we've already mentioned that the digital twin and the precision medicine is also will be a reality in some days, where not for particular disease of which we already know that some drugs like in the breast cancer cannot work, all the drugs cannot work because of the absence of certain receptors. So not only so in every disease it will be we feel that it will be a reality that where a particular person will be given a particular disease based on the receptors that person have, and to with the knowledge of the information and the different electronic health records and all that are being collected. So these are uh, very popular, very prominent research that has showed that how candidates for drug repurposing in Alzheimer's disease have been identified through machine learning based approaches, as well as here on the real world data and using the different electronic health records and other clinical trials data, that how this can be used for the different, they have tried to find out for the coronary artery disease that different drugs through deep learning framework. So this shows, and this is the very much attraction towards the research. All the research fraternity are working towards it to develop that drug which can have an effect on a person, less effect, less toxicity, with which greater response. So which is always what is needed here. So I just like to conclude my talk by saying, so this was the condition till now, from taking an analogy from the stories and from our ancient culture and tradition of which is which have also have a huge amount of resource and knowledge. So taking that if we are unsure that was what was the condition of the researchers, or was that if we don't know that exactly what drug has to be used, we have to search the entire mountain and we have to take it there for trying out through hit and trial methods, which is always not, it is time consuming and is not very much acceptable. So I can just say that AI is that one tool that can help us in choosing the right drug for the right candidate, and from the entire spectrum, and for the, obviously, for the right person. Yeah, so I'd like to conclude and thanking again the organizers and all the audience. Yeah, so I'll be, so since the organizers told that the questions will be taken afterwards, so I'll take it afterwards. Yeah, thank you all.
Thank you, sir, for your knowledge on the topic. Now, I'd like to invite our next speaker for the day, Mr. Buddhadev Goswami, research scholar at IIT Bombay, asking sir to share his screen and present the insights.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Hello, yeah. So, is my screen visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm not able to see my screen. Sorry. Some issues. Is my screen all visible to you? Yeah. Hello. So I'm Buddhadev Goswami, and I'm a research scholar at Koita Centre for Digital Health and IITB, which works on Koita Centre for Digital Health actually works on digital health digital health platform, and I'm working under Professor Ravindra Puri and Professor Nirmal Punjabi. So today I'm going to talk about the application of AI in healthcare, particularly computer vision that I'm working on, and I'm going to discuss a little bit about my work, and I will try to give you the insights about how you can how the computer vision works and how it can help in the healthcare sector, particularly focusing on the Indian scenario. So my research topic is basically on the oral health problem, and particularly oral cancers, which is almost 30% of all the cancers that's happened in India. And there are other problems also, like tooth loss, like gingivitis and all. So we are trying to cover up the whole spectrum, but the most focus is on the oral cancers, because oral cancers once happen can take life, and saving a life is the most important factors when you are working on the healthcare scenario. So when we are talking about advantages of AI, so we have to think about whom we are making the AI for. Are we making the AI for screening and common public, or are you making the AI for diagnostic precision? So AI can help in a different way. First of all, it is helping in the diagnostic precision. Also, it's helped in the treatment planning. If somebody if there is a recurrent data of a patient, it can give a predictive analysis of how the treatment can go. So it's helped in the prognosis. It can also affect in oral pathology. Which can help to identify the dental problem early, dental or oral problem, whatever we say, and provide real-time monitoring, that if you want to predict and give real-time monitoring for the patients, and offer preventive insights. So what we particularly do is something what we call in ML is a supervised learning approach. So in supervised learning approach, what we do is we preset a defined output. Means we tell the machine that, okay, you have to, this is the output that can come, and based on that training, we train the models, and those models gives predictions. So we can create a generic ML models. So ML models are mostly of the data that are text data, or we can use deep learning models. I will come to the next slide. So what my research topic is about, that we are actually working on the photographic images of the patient. So we take photographic images from different patients, and then these photographic images have different problems taken from different hospitals, and then we annotate with a domain expert. So domain expert is somebody who is a doctor, so he or she supervises that this is the problem that could be there, and based on those annotations and the data, we try to make an AI model for classification or object detection, that I'm coming on the next slides. And our goal is to integrate all this into a mobile app or a web platform that can help in the rural areas of the India. So to give you a perspective, that when the person who is having oral cancers come to the hospital like KEM or Tata Medical Center, he is already at stage 2, stage 3 cancer. It is impossible to save those person, and they lose their life. But if you can detect early the problems, then it could be much more efficiently, the disease can be managed, and also it will help to save the life. So the workflow that happens in the computer vision, this is a generic workflow. So we take the images and we do some pre-processing like color grading, histogram, and age detection. These are Python libraries like OpenCV, and you can also do it in MATLAB or anything. Then we do the annotation. So annotations is the most crucial part, because it is supervised learning. If your annotations are wrong, if your doctor is identifying some problem as the wrong, the model will run it wrong. The annotations can be done with different kind of segmentation, bounding box, and there are a lot of softwares that helps to do these annotations. Then we go into the model training part. We can do object detection, classification, segmentation. There are a lot of CNN model, transformer based models. Now transformer based models are better, performing better in some cases than the CNN models also. YOLO, ResNet, Mask CNN. There are a lot of, and then we have to predict our model accuracy is good. Then there are a lot of parameters that we have to check. Is the model accuracy, recall, precision, and final predictions. So the first part which comes is that when you are working with the photographic images, how you are taking the images. That's a very important part. If the light is less, or uh, it's a very bright area, then it will affect your model. So we use different kinds of different kinds of images from DSLR camera, mobile photography, or intraoral camera. And this is for the photographic images, and you can also work on medical and radiographic images. A lot of people in the computer vision actually work. So these are X-rays, MRI, or CT scans, and these the advantages of this is that this is a grayscale image, so it is a one channel image, and also it generally is very much taken from a software. So the patient data is very much secured in this kind of medical or radiographic images, whereas when we are taking an image from a mobile phone, it is very ambiguous. Like you cannot calibrate how much light or how much distance it's the image you are taking from. So this images could be disturbing, but these are called the precancerous lesion, what we call a orally potential malignant disorders. So these precancerous lesions happens before the cancers actually progress. So before cancer comes, these kind of lesions come to the people who are very much prone to tobacco or gutka and those kind of things. And these have different characteristics, like this has white color lesion, white, this is white and red patches, and this has black patches, or these have tumors or outgrowth, and these are uh, ulcers. So based on this, we can distinguish this from cancers, and we can say these pre-cancers are there in your mouth, so you should visit your doctor as early as possible. Uh, like from these lesions, we have to first annotate these images. So first we are taking the bounding box annotations or polygon annotations. So these annotations are done by the doctor, and then we try to pre-process the images. Like we want to crop the mouth parts and remove the noises. We have to remove the noises before putting into the model. And we want the exact part that we want to model to predict. Then after doing this pre-processing, we can do different kinds of models we can prepare that are pre-trained models, and you can hyper tune those models to detection. So there are object detection models, segmentation models, object detection model, YOLO model, RCNN or DET transformer, or segmentation model like segformers. And you can also do some image processing that are textural analysis, like you can prepare a texture convolutional neural network which will predict based on the texture of the particular area of interest which you are trying to detect. So these are some results. I'm not going to results, but we have had the accuracy of 0.68 or something for some classes, but some classes are not that much good. The reason is that the data set we are working on is highly imbalanced. So the data what you are getting from different sectors from the rural area or the hospitals have to be a balanced data set. It have to be a good data set to get a predictive results. If your data is wrong, then your predictions are wrong. We try to calibrate how the data set, that data we are taking, is the data is good or not, and we have to also discard many data. We have to remove duplicates from the data, and also pre-process a lot before putting into the model. So this is a very important part. So data set preparation and also the annotations both are crucial for getting a good results. Again, we are like, you can see the leukoplakia is detected as leukoplakia as higher, but because of class imbalance there are some issues with uh, other classes. This is textural analysis where we take saturation channels, Harlick features, and cross entropy loss, and we have some accuracy of 0.15. This is totally based on the image processing techniques. I have also worked on erythroblast detection. I'm just going through one slide of this. So it is something like you can see that some patient who was splenectomized due to anemia or cancer or blood disorders, they it is very in rural in Indian setup, normal setup, it is very hard to detect between lymphocytes and erythroblasts. So these normoblasts are very much into the blood, and every time they go to a hospital or a pathology, everybody said that you have cancers because it cannot detect with the lymphocytes and erythroblasts. They show a very high number of lymphocytes which are actually erythroblasts. So you can so we tried to do with a very limited data of 5% of the total data set of 70,000 images, and we are able to detect erythroblast with erythroblast. We have, this is a diagram of an convolutional neural network, and this convolutional neural network we have changed some output layer. So this is a ResNet 50 backbone, and we have changed some neural networks layers to predict with a very low percentage of data. Again, when we are talking about data is like gold in today's world. It's getting a data is a very hard thing from anywhere. And also these annotations and everything, doctors are very busy in this country, so they don't have time to annotate thousands of images for you unless they are very much committed to the work that you are doing. So the working with a limited data is very much essential for a model to make a affordable solution. Yeah. So I'm going to wrap up my presentation that, yeah, the potential of AML in enhancing the accuracy and efficiency of diagnosing oral health issues like cancer and pre-cancer, and we can improve on the diagnostic outcome through AI ML models in the future and in the coming time also. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for, you can connect with me on my mail ID. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah.
Now I'd like to move on to the next speaker for today. Mr. Samrat Sagar, MTech from IIT Roorkee and PhD scholar at IIT Bombay, asking Sir to share his insights.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
So I'll share my screen. All right. Is my screen visible to everyone?
Yes, sir.
All right, good. So first of all, thank you BioX for such a great initiative, and thank you Hussein for inviting me, and thank you to all the esteemed speakers who spoke before me. You have already set the stage very AI heavy. So this is a disclaimer before I start my presentation that my the project is not at all related to AI and there's no AI involved. I'll just be talking about how we mechanical engineers are helping surgeons in improving the quality of life of the patients. So I am Samrat Sagar. I'm a senior PhD scholar at BETiC at Biome Lab at IIT Bombay, and my project it basically revolves around the custom mandibular implants. Uh, just a minute. Sorry, is my screen still visible?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
yes.
All right, all right. Because I cannot see my screen. Just give me a second. Wait, I'll just stop and share it again. Yes. Okay, sorry. So yes, so my topic is basically my research topic is basically on custom mandibular implant. So there are three keywords: custom mandibular implant. So mandible is basically a biological term for the jaw, and implants, as you most of you must be knowing, it is basically a medical device which is put inside the body inside the body to restore the functioning of the body part. And custom, as you already know, like we have custom clothing for ourselves. These implants are customized for a particular patient. And before yes, before I talk about the implant, let me give you a brief introduction about the anatomy of the mandible. And it is basically a U-shaped bone which is connected at the temporomandibular joint. Why do we call it temporomandibular? Because it is at a junction of a temporal bone next to the ear and the mandible. It is basically a bone which serves as the arch for the oral cavity. It is the only movable and the load-bearing bone of the skull, and the importance of this bone is it basically helps in maintaining the contour of the face, and also it helps in maintaining the oral functions. Now, the motivation behind this study, behind this work was that in India, there is high tobacco and alcohol consumption, which basically accounts for 30% of the global oral cancers in India, which again, oral cancer is again the most common type of cancer in Indian men and the fourth most common in Indian women. The next thing, the motivation for this study was the mandible fracture, which happens in 23 to 97% of the facial cases of the facial fractures, and which is again caused by the human assaults and the motor vehicle accidents. Now, once all these anomalies are there, we need to reconstruct all the mandible, owing to the tumor cases and the fractures. There are severe facial deformation in the human being, and also these tumor and the fracture causes the. It basically helps in. No, it really causes the impaired mastication and speech and swallowing and respiration, which calls for Yes. Now, when there are these defects present inside the mandible, it calls for the reconstruction of the mandible, which again involves reestablishing the form of the face and restoring the daily functional activities of the human being, and also provide the dental rehabilitation to restore the chewing task as soon as possible. Now, when we talk about the mandible reconstruction, there are standard implants which are already available in the market, but there are certain shortcomings which are associated with these standard implants, that these implants only come in generic shapes and sizes, and these implants need to be manually bent by the surgeon intraoperatively, and because of this manual bending, there are chances that these implants can actually fracture from the weak areas. And the manual bending being a very skill dependent process, it many a times it happens that exact bending of these implant is not achievable, which again leads to the improper adaptation of these implants with the bony anatomy, which again causes the exposure of the implant, as you can see on the screen. Now, because of the complex shape of the mandible, because it has a very freeform shape, and also the shape of the tumor is very uneven, it calls surgical intervention with the customized implant, which are actually customized to the bony anatomy of the patient. So before actually we analyze these implants, we thought of analyzing the healthy mandible for different mastication tasks. Mastication basically means chewing and clenching. So we basically computationally simulated various clenching tasks, namely like we have four sets of teeth, namely incisor, canine, molar, and premolar. We simulated various clenching tasks, uh, and we found out computationally these circles, the colorful circles which you are seeing on the screen, they basically depict the critical regions corresponding to the clenching task which we have simulated. The size of the circle is basically shows how critical the task is. Uh, Next, obviously, because we talked about the human assaults, we also simulated the fist punching task on the four prominent locations of the mandible, namely symphysis, pharynx, symphysis, body, and the ramus. And we found out that this condylar region, the small tube-like region on the mandible, it was found to be the most critical during the punching task. Now, these critical task regions again help us to improve the design concentration for the implants. Now, the thing is how we design these implants. So we basically gets the CT scans from the surgeon, and we use those CT scans to convert those. We use basically there are specialized medical modeling software to convert these CT scans into the 3D bone model. Again, we use those 3D bone model as a template for designing the implant. These are the various steps which are involved in the designing of the implant in the medical modeling software. Now, once the implants are designed, we need to computationally test them, and we use various analytical software. Like I personally use ANSYS for analyzing these implants computationally. So we need to input various parameters, namely the mesh size, the material properties of the implant in the bone, and the boundary condition and the loading condition, depending upon the task which we are trying to simulate. Now, wherein once we have put in all these four parameters, we analyze the implant for the stress and strain. And once we are sure that all the stress and strain values are within the limit of considerable limit, or are below the failure limits, we then go ahead with the manufacturing of the implant. So before actually manufacturing the implant using a metal, we print them into using a polymer, just to check if they are properly designed, or if their fit is proper. So we give the bone model name, these plastic printed implant, to the surgeon, just to check the implant fit. Once we get the go ahead from the surgeon, we actually print them uh, using metal. So we basically use DMLS technique, which is direct metal laser sintering for the additive manufacturing of these implants, as you can see on the screen. And these are the as printed and post-processed implant. Now, once we have printed these implant and once we have computationally analyzed those implant, but as we all know that because the computational studies, it involves a lot of assumptions, so the efficacy of these results is actually very questionable. So we need to experimentally validate all the computational results. For that purpose, we experimentally analyze all these implants before we put all. So how do we put all these implant in the experimental setup? We actually give these implant to the surgeon to mount them onto the bone model. For that, we design the jigs for the pre-drilling of the screw hole for the implant placement and for the bone resection. And then the surgeon who's skilled in placement of the implant, they place these implant using the screw onto the synthetic bone models, as you can see on the screen. Now, for the experimental validation, we were actually looking onto the two parameters for the experimental validation. One was the clenching force, which comes onto the teeth while we are trying to clench or chew. For that purpose, we actually designed and fabricated a mandible simulator, as you can see on the screen. The simulator can actually simulate four clenching tasks, unilateral clenching tasks. You can see all these cables, they are actually mimicking the jaw closing muscles, and we actuate all these cables using dead weights. I used gym weights for actuating these muscles, the cables basically. Now, like I said, the one of the parameter for the experimental validation was the clenching force. We placed a force sensor at the clenching site, wherein the teeth are actually coming in, and you can see the implant placement. And we basically used the data coming in from the sensor for the validation of the computational results. Next parameter for the experimental validation was the strain measurement, the strains which actually get generated onto the mandible while we are trying to load the simulator for each task. And the strain on the mandible was captured using the cameras. We basically call the technique which we use for measuring the strain is called a digital image correlation technique, wherein we use two cameras to capture the images of the mandible while we are loading it, and then we use a post-processing software to analyze those images in order to calculate the stress and strain. So this is how we measure the strain and computationally compare it with the computational data and validate those computational results. Once all of this is done, we actually put the implant into the patient. I'll share two case studies from our lab, which we have done recently. These are two case studies from the Hinduja Hospital and the Hirannani Hospital, which we did recently. You can see the implant for the mandible tumor cases, and other perks which comes with these thing are you get to visit the operation theaters actually and get to see the surgery live. And I hope this should be the motivation enough to carry to pick the research in the biomechanics field. And if you are actually interested in looking at the results of the experimental studies, you can actually see me at the BETiC and Biome lab inside the IIT Bombay campus. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.